mute themselves in the lower left corner. Okay, this is lines and shadows.
Okay. This will be the, I think
this is F16.
Yeah. Okay, right, yeah. This is either the third or fourth time that I will have said this tonight. My tagline is "It's all about the light," and this picture is "It's all about the light." Simple. I mean, you're taking a chair and you're hitting it with light, and you've created a beautiful, beautiful image. I'm just looking to see what it is that I can fault it on, and I'm not saying this is it, everything, even the balance of the back supports of the chair are lit perfectly, along with the diagonals. The fact that you chose to put the shadow lines on a diagonal as opposed to horizontal. Yeah, I got to give this a 10. This is it's just so simple and sweet. No, you know, I take that back. There is something wrong with the image, and I'm going to tell you. I am going to tell you what's wrong with the image. It's not mine. So yeah, it's a 10. That's nice. Nice shot.
Fishy clouds.
So you've taken a cloudscape, made it into an abstract. It's kind of cool. As far as the technical aspects of creating your exposure and all, that works real well. I just want to see something else as a key focal point to make it pop. The bird, the plane, the something to add that dimension that makes me say, okay, now it's complete. I'll go 8 on this.
Morning mist.
Okay. You know what I got to, because this is just so extended. I've got to, I'm going to change. There it is. Okay. I just had to.
All around. Yeah.
I'm glad I did that, because now I can see what I had is the view of thumbnails of the people in the meeting on the right-hand side. So my point goes back to that balance deal that I talked about in one of the other groups, where it's kind of skewed more to the right. I do like the light. I do like the mood and the atmosphere. I'm a sucker when it comes to this kind of mood and atmospheric, but it's just a little bit too heavy on the right, so I want to go 9.
Spin cycle.
Simple. It's very graphic, very bold. I'm loving what I see in the center, and I'm loving what I'm liking what I see on either side. The center is a little bit more harmonious. To me, a little bit too much negative space on the top. A big old kind of, double exposed, montaged in there, combined 2 files. Big old moon up in that negative space. I kind of like to see reflected into the water. That'd be good. Just a little bit too much black up in the top. But I do like the graphic and bold quality of what's going on down below, so I'll go 9.
Acrobat.
Man, I love what you did with the effect of separating out the plane from the background, doing what it is that you did with the background sky to give the effect of the lines. Now I know that it's not a pan because if you look at the prop is frozen. So it couldn't have been a slow exposure to get the panning effect with the sky. So that is obviously done with in Photoshop with multiple layers, but the effect super works. You know what? I'm really liking the fact that you guys do a lot of black and white, and you're doing it very well, and that's to be commended as a club. And that seems to be the club's trademark, especially for this competition here. I like this shot a lot. 10. Nice. There's absolutely nothing wrong with this image, except it's not mine.
Antique gas pump.
That it is, that's for sure. One of my key slogans is the background is equally as important as the subject. And if the background is distracting or creates a merger or doesn't allow the primary subject to just pop out and stand out, then you've got to rethink what it is that you did with your primary subject. And to have the gas pump offset against the in-focus doors makes the doors and the gas pump compete for attention, yet they're on a different plane. And given the fact they're on different planes, they shouldn't be competing for attention. 8 on this.
His hat tells his story.
Beautifully handled background. Just an iconic, classic tribute to those who have served, and the treatment, the texturing, I don't know if the effect was done, like silver effects where you overlaid a texture on it or what. It's irrelevant as to what it is or how it is you did it. It's the effect that you did it successfully. And what I'm really want to make this picture a teaching point. Because some of the comments that I had made earlier with the other pictures where I said the bright part of the image, you don't want it to be too bright. And if it is bright, you want it to maintain detail. Look at the highlight on his right-hand side of his face, our left-hand side, yet every part, every line, every character line in the face, every whisker, every aspect of his right-hand side of his face has texture. And the left-hand side, even though it's in shadow, all reveals texture. Magnificently processed and worked, and fantastic effect. And that the glow around just the area of the head and shoulders is absolutely perfect. 11. A 10. 10.
Yucca pods.
I like the high key effect here. The swoop of the yucca. You usually don't see a yucca grow where it arches over like this. And to see that, you obviously know what to choose as far as subject matter, and you did that well. The highlights are, the background obviously is totally white, but the highlights on the yucca all reveal detail, which is good. What I want to see are a little bit richer blacks. If the blacks were socked up just a little bit more, 10 more points, 15 more points of black to just give this thing that wow factor would elevate it to the next level. But it's still a very, very well constructed and optimized image. 9.
Non-nude, soft nude.
I love this. This is simplicity in its finest. This is taking a pose, telling a model to get into a very, very classic pose, yet what it is that you saw as the photographer, to zero in your lens on the legs that come across and then cross down by the ankles, which complements the cross of the arms, and this one little section of dark, this little crevasse up at the top of dark is exquisite. 10.
Love is.
Doesn't look like they're too excited about each other, that's for sure. So, I mean, it does kind of tell a story. There's just a little bit too much going on. The background it sets the environment, but the background creates chaos and confusion to the subjects. It looks like just like a street shot, so it's not as if this is a posed image where you could ask these two lovebirds, quote unquote, to move to different benches, maybe deeper into the park where the background could be better. But you still click the shutter and put it in. And the stop sign, the one-way signs, the half of the sign with the D on it in the background, the head merging with the truck. There's just too many things going on. I like what you did where you tried to throw that left-hand side of the bench somewhat out of focus. That kind of helps minimize things, but the background itself is just a little bit too much on the distracting side. I'm going to go 8 on this.
Serenity.
Simple, nice religious feel to it. I get a nice feeling of serenity. Detail just about maintained throughout the whites. Placement of the flowers and the candles is all good. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 small candles on the left-hand side. What I would wish, if it was possible for you to do, if it was reachable for you to do, to move one of the taller candles on that right side to the left side where the short ones are, just for a little bit more balance. I would have liked that, but I do like the feel. I like the out of focus, the technical aspect that you incorporated as far as the background of the tree through the window. 9.
Fine feathered friend.
I mean, the black and white stuff that you guys are turning out is just super, super spectacular. And I'm loving just looking at it. Beautiful stuff. Head angle. Head angle when you're doing wildlife is of the utmost importance. the bird is kind of looking somewhat away and down. I want to see it a little bit more of connectivity with the photographer. Plus, if you look at the placement of where the bird's eye is, it's in the right-hand third, which means that's the most important part of the, of the bird itself, is the eye and the beak. So with it being in the right-hand third and the bird looking out the right side of the picture, that really lessens the importance of what's going on in the left. So if I look on the left-hand side, so if you go to the center of the body of the bird and look to the left, what is there that makes me say, that compels me to say, this should be in the image, and I'm not seeing it. The crop, there should be a crop almost halfway down the picture. Maybe if you take off 40% of that left-hand side, you'd have a stronger image. The light is good. The highlight on the breast and the chin works really well. That's a definite positive. But the heavy cropping, the heavy balance to the right, especially in the F16 group, I want to see that left-hand side cropped off. I'm going to go 8.
Parasailing at sunset.
Nice. Very pastoral, very kind of peaceful. You could almost just hear the thermals that this guy is riding because of the time of day and all. Probably not a whole lot of time riding because the winds aloft aren't going to really be all that hot, so it's not going to give him a lot of lift. But still, the diagonal onto which the paraglider is flying is nice. Weighted heavily on that right-hand side again, no, and that minimizes what's going on the left-hand side. The left-hand side does have those 2 rocks, those 2 sea stacks in the water, and they're good, but because they merge with the palm trees, they're not separate entities unto themselves, which kind of minimizes them somewhat. 8 points on this one.
The face of experience.
I like the placement of the hand. I like the bend in the elbow, the name tag being there. The award bars above his name are good. You can see that this guy is highly decorated because of the bars that he's got on the left-hand side. That's nice. The lighting on the head itself is nice. I do question the cropping. Why did you cut off the top of this poor guy's head? Especially in that it's a square format, shoot it as a vertical, get the top of the head in there. I do want to see the rest of this guy's hair, especially given the fact that, he's got that very distinguished gray, dark hair mixture. So why lose it? I question the motivation behind that. But the rest of the image is so well done. I'll go 9. I wish the top was up there so I could have given it a
10. Safe passage.
So good moment. Taken in the spring, you got the baby geese. That works well. A little bit of rippling going on the water of the color reflected down into the lake itself. That's nice. Placement of the geese themselves, not bad. The reeds in the lower right, somewhat of a distraction. I'd like to see the top darkened down so that it's just not all that negative space. And again, it looks, as I made a comment earlier, as if it's either severely cropped or shot at a very high ISO. And as a result, the quality of the image itself suffers somewhat. Additionally, with the focus point, the goose on the left is not quite as sharp as the goose on the right. So you probably had the focus point on the goose on the right and maybe shot with a long lens and you lost the depth of field, or it was just enough off axis of the goose on the right to have lost the depth of field on the goose on the left. 8.
Foxy lady.
Nice moment, good expressive eyes. I like the mouth open. I just wish that the bright spots behind the fox weren't quite as bright. Darkening them in would have helped. Moving to your right would have been extremely beneficial in this picture. Because then you would have had all of the out of focus green, and you still would have had a good angle on the fox's face and the rest of the image. But it is the pose, the tight cropping, everything else. And it's not as if the background is really, really bright. So I'll go 9.
Snowy fishing.
I like this effect, whether it's done post-processing or whether it's done in camera with the zoom. I'm getting the feeling that it's post-processing because it looks like the beak and the eyes were erased, and there's more of an effect on the top and bottom feather areas, but it does have a nice effect. The balance and color harmony and color contrast with the red against the blue is very, very strong. And the placement and the radial lines going off to the left with the head of the egret being on the right is a perfect balance. I'm going to round this one up to a 10. I'm saying 9.5, and I'm going back and forth between a 9 and a 10, 9 and 10. But for the creative aspect, I need to reward creativity, and that's what made me decide to elevate it to the higher side as opposed to the lower side.
Evening river dance.
Good layering, good use of curved lines, great timing on your exposure as far as the duration that the shutter was open to get the sweep of both of those boats. And then that one in the center kind of doing like this just swirling kind of effect. And then to have the movement in just those 2 front layers is nice. What I would like to have seen done is that sky. No, guys, take a look at the picture and notice how your eye is drawn up to that sky. The sky is just a little bit too bright. Had that sky been darkened down, your eye wouldn't have even been brought up to the sky. Maybe even cropping off a little section of it. So cropping off, losing about, so if I look at the total height of the sky, losing about half of the sky itself, and then darkening down what's left, and then having that lead your eye and bring your eye down through the rest of the picture would be nice. But the creative use of the shutter speed and all, that works well. I'll go 9 on this one.
On the hunt.
Nice shot of the golden, just kind of flying. The great wing position. Good deal on the background. Oh man, this is a tough one because the head is, it's sharp enough. But that sky, that oh no, there's just a couple. I can't overlook it. The sky behind it is just a little too bright, and the eye on the eagle itself, just a little bit on. It doesn't have that. You know what? I'm thinking out loud, and I'm saying this out loud, and I just realized that I'm making a mistake in what it is that I'm saying, so I'm going to correct that, because I'm not proud when it comes to that kind of stuff. If I make a mistake, I'll admit it. What I'm seeing here in the background is because of the brightness of the sky, that it gives like an implied effect that the eagle's head itself is not that sharp. But now that I look at it and evaluate it with the light and all, it's more that it just needs to be darkened up somewhat. But because that cloud behind the eagle itself is so bright, that it creates a technical aspect that is a fault with the picture. Add to that the fact that the left-hand side needs to be cropped off. You have almost equal amount of area behind the bird that you do in front of the bird. By doing that, you're centering the bird. You don't want to center the bird. You want to leave the bird more room in which to fly one side or the other. So be aware and cognizant of that next time you make your crop. But primarily because of what's going on with the sky, even though the wing position and everything like that is phenomenal, that sky is such a distraction that I've got to give it an 8.
Crossing the Mara River.
Definitely a nice moment. Certainly a ton of action. I've been up here multiple times, and it's no easy place to photograph. And I'm liking what I'm seeing here. There's expressiveness in the eyes of the wildebeest, which is not easy to get. This one that's in the water on the right-hand side almost looks as if it's struggling already. The one on the left with the big bug eyes is good. The one that's on the right that's a little bit more elevated, it's got that effect of just jumping in, but those splashes behind, and then just how you can make out the wildebeest in the background works well too. 10 on that one.
Pell's fishing owl.
Nice moment. Pretty good light. I like the translucency going through its left wing. That's nice. The little bit more room on the right-hand side for it to fly. That's good. 9.
Common blackhawk.
It's a pleasant portrait of the hawk itself, as far as capturing a moment of it where it's perched. Then you get in to a couple of the other aspects. One being the background. The light on the background is a lot brighter than the light on the bird. That's a negative aspect. You want the light on the bird to be brighter than the light on the background, especially some of those very bright spots that are going on. And then the fact that the bird, its head position kind of looking not away from you, but also not really making eye contact with you. And then a little bit too much material underneath its feet. If it was cropped, if you lost the bottom fourth, where you came up higher, but not to where you're cropping into the claws of the tail, maybe the bottom fifth. Fourth would be a little bit too much. To just crop off some of that bottom to eliminate some of the negative space there. 8 on this one.
Mother Goose wouldn't approve.
Very nice interaction. I like the step that's going on the one on the right-hand side with it raising its left foot, the extension of the wing on the one that is that it's on the left is nice. The lighting in this case actually works in your favor because you don't have those really bright hot spots. I like this. I actually like this shot a lot. I mean, you know, it's tough to get good photos of Canadian geese. And by Jove, you've done it. That's a 10. That's a nice image. It's almost it's like this dance that's going on. It's kind of cool. I like this. Not often I give a goose shot a 10.
Sunset fly.
Well, it's certainly dramatic as far as filling the sky with all of the birds themselves. That works real well. The time of day, the position of the sun, the fact that you've got detail in the sun and beautiful silhouetting going on the rest of the image. It's nice. Good placement of the sun. 9 points on that.
And that's it.
No, I've got more. But there's.
I was going to say that didn't seem like.
There we go. I'm sorry.
That didn't seem like half, but.
GMC history of color.
Nice creative use of the radial lines. That works well. Very kaleidoscopic rainbow. You know, I get that effect of looking through a kaleidoscope as a kid, and the technique that you use to maintain the sharp letters is nice. The radial telescoping zoom lines, I like. 9 on this one.
Aerial salute to Colorado.
Reminds me of the black and white one that we saw earlier. I like the black and white one. The treatment that was done in that had a little bit more power. The underbelly of the fighter jet here just doesn't have that same impact when you see the U.S. Army written on the wing of the other and all. And obviously, you know, it's a fighter jet, but the bringing out of the shadows on this one, I want to see the plane pop a little bit more. The light is just a little bit on the tough side as far as bright sky, dark plane. but I do like the streaking clouds, and it's still a pleasant image to view. I do like the effect, so I'm gonna reward you an extra and give you a 9 because of the effect.
How do I look?
Okay, so given that the title, what I want to see is more of what's going on between the two subjects in the foreground. Now, I guess it could be argued where the lady on the left with the black and white and green dress taking a picture of the lady on against the wall in red could also go hand in hand with it, but it just doesn't have the strength and the impact because you've got to kind of piece that together a little bit too obtusely. And the obvious part is the part in the foreground. The rest of the background, there's just, too many things going on, too many people that are really not involved in what it is that's occurring. The guy with the Pink Floyd shirt on, he's just kind of, looking out. And then as I scan through the rest of the faces in the background, they're just not making any connectivity whatsoever to what would possibly even be the 4 subjects of this image, 8.
Shy springtime beauty.
I like what it is you've done as far as applying the Photoshop technique. That separates it from just a recording of the image itself, which is commendable, and that's nice. But what else can be done rather than just apply a filter? How about putting a vignette around it to darken the edges so that your eye would be brought more into the actual red flower and not kind of trail out some of the brighter areas along the perimeter of the photo itself, especially that lower right leaf, whose 3 main finger parts of the leaf itself lead you and point you right out of the photo. Those things should be pointing at the flower itself. And then the merger of those 2 parts of the leaf over the red flower itself, I'm not a big fan of that. I would like to have seen those tucked underneath the flower so that the entire flower could be seen. I'm going to go 8 on this one.
Tongue in cheek.
Almost like he's got this grass mustache, which is kind of cool. I do like the tongue sticking out, the grass that goes to either side that is as part of the mustache is nice. The background is handled well. The trunk up with the 2 nostrils being revealed is good. It's just the light. The light needs it's thick gray light, and it just doesn't have any sparkle or twinkle to it. Flash, little bit of fill flash on a Magmod would have really popped a little bit of light into this, made it a little bit more expressive, and given it that extra dimension. I do like the moment that's caught. The fact that you've got the trunk up, the tongue out, and the mustache of grasses, and the ears flared against an out-of-focus background, not easy to do, and I'm going to reward you for that aspect, but I can't give you a top prize because of the lights. I'll go 9.
And we have a critique if Bob has it.
Yes.
Okay. No score, just a critique, Russ.
Okay.
Okay. It has disappeared momentarily. Let me go back and get it.
I really do need to commend you guys on your black and white stuff. It's pretty special.
Well, thank you, Russ.
Yeah, it's I've yet to see a club, present as many black and whites, and what it is that you guys are doing with it, with the lighting and all of that stuff it's strong. It's good stuff.
I can try and drop this in Lightroom if that'll help.
Say again?
I will try to drop the image. Can you see the image now?
Oh, I think it's the Mustang at the DIA. There. Yeah, that's it. Maybe you can open it
Yeah,
up.
full screen, or because it looks like there's a lot of subtleties in the sky. Here we go.
Okay, the title is #somebody else's art.
Can you see that?
Yeah, I got it now. It actually looks quite nice. I like what it is you've done. I don't know if that's the original sky that's behind it. It's irrelevant. What it is that you've done is created a piece of art, and it works well. The demonic eyes every time you pass this thing, how freaky it looks. They work well. The treatment that you applied to the Bronco itself works nicely. My biggest nitpick is you've got too much room on behind the horse and not enough room in front of the horse. There's actually more image real estate behind the tail than there is in front of the forelegs that are up in the air. And you want more room to be in front of the horse than you have behind the horse. So just something to keep in mind. But I do like the treatment that's applied here. It's appropriate for the subject itself.
So we have 7 10s in the F16. That's lines and shadows. Joe Bonita.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. That is a chair, and it was not lighting I created. It was coming in through a window, And what I did was increase the contrast drastically so that it made it more of an abstract than the original picture, which was a much more continuous tone picture.
Nice, very nice. Very simple, Joe. You did well in it.
Thank you.
That's Acrobat. That's Todd Lytle.
As you know, there have been a lot of flyovers during this COVID thing. So this was the part of the flyover that was, I think, out of Broomfield. There were 30 or 40 planes that came and went at once. And I was sure I was in the right place to take the picture. And 39 of them went in a different direction. But this one was relatively close, and I was able to capture that.
Nice. Did you swap in a different background, Todd?
Well, I showed it to Dan before I submitted it, and he said, you really need to blur the prop. And I said, oh, don't be silly. But the background wasn't swapped. It was just the blur filter in Photoshop.
Okay, so but
Motion
there is
motion blur.
Okay, but you did do a treatment to the background. That's what I thought.
Yeah, the treatment is just a motion blur of the sky that was there, which was relatively uninteresting.
Right.
This is His Hat Tells His Story by Cliff.
Yeah, well, you guys probably figured it was one of my veterans that I did. And that texture that you mentioned there, Russ, it's in that Topaz Clarity.
Okay.
And you take the contrast sliders, and there's a micro, and the one below that, and you give it about half of the slider, and then put that on a different layer, and then I kind of take it out to get the look that you want. So it just kind of brings out the detail in the skin.
It gives a beautiful grit.
Grit is the word that I've used with it. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, the grit factor is spot on. And then, I mean, you didn't even see what you did as far as, so, one of the things, again, to just, now that I look at it, it's even closer. When I was talking about how you darken corners and everything, guys, look at what Cliff did, especially to the lower part of the shirt. See how the lower part of the shirt is darker? So it transitions from dark going up to light. And where is it the brightest? Right where you want it to be, at the face and shoulders. So learn from this. See, you can see here how that technique works. Apply it to your photos, and you're gonna do well.
And every one of these portraits I use the Nick filter, darken, light, and center. That's what gets the vignette.
That is a great filter,
isn't it?
Yeah.
If you try to put a vignette on, you can almost always tell where it starts and stops. But with that darken, light, and center, you cannot tell where the vignette stops and starts.
It's so beautifully transitioned that it's smooth.
Yeah, it is.
Nicely done there.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your comments.
This is Joe's non-nude, soft nude.
Yes, it is. This is, it's evenly lit. It's got a little bit of soft focus in it to make things very smooth. And the model was wearing a bathing suit. That's why I call it non-nude. But it looks like a nude.
Yeah.
And it was just cropped down to remove the head and the feet and what have you, and the bottom of the bathing suit, just to get a line flow kind of picture.
Right. Works.
Thank you.
That was a 9.
Yeah, but while it's up there, I cut his head off just because I could.
Oh. Wise ass, huh?
Which, well, let's see. Snowy fishing. Yeah, that's Lee Ermy. Is Lee here tonight? He has a comment, says, snowy egret fishing for breakfast in a pond near my house.
I'm sure he put some sort of filtration on there,
Yeah.
motion filter or something, and painted it away from the face.
Yeah, if any of you guys follow Lee on Facebook, he's posted a number of these images like this where he's, done the radial blur or the spiral or whatever. So if you want to check out more other than the 2 that he put in tonight, you can go see him on Facebook.
Crossing the Mara River, this is Butch's. Is Butch still here?
Yes, can you hear me?
Okay, can hear you.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, this was in Kenya, and as Russ mentioned, actually just what I've picked up over time, and especially over at Mile High. I simply shoot at 1,000th of a second, always try to get as low a perspective as I can with wildlife, and I'm fortunate that my Canon shoots a lot of frames per second. So practice makes perfect. I took a lot of shots.
That's a good one, Butch. Thanks.
And thank you.
A lot of good action in that one, Mr. M.
Well, thank you, Russ. Glad you're doing well.
Thanks, you too. Get your hair cut.
Tomorrow, believe it or not.
All right.
Yeah, this is a Mother Goose wouldn't approve. Brian Donovan.
Yeah, I took this down in Stern Park down in Littleton.
Yeah.
These 2 geese were fighting really fiercely for 5 minutes at least, and I did have to replace the background. There were a bunch of reeds in the background that were distracting.
Ah, okay. I was going to say, is that on ice? It looks like they're on ice.
It is. There's ice and snow, and yeah.
Okay, so it was a winter shot then.
Yes.
I think is that all of them, Bob?
Let me double check. There might be one more. Nope, that's it.
Okay, thanks very much, Russ.
You got it. It's a
Really
pleasure.
appreciate your help and expertise. You got a lot of good tips for us.
Good. I hope you guys learned something from what it is that I said. That's always kind of my goal when I judge, to get you guys to learn something new that you can apply. And
I think you're doing a program
got one in July coming up for you
in
guys.
July, yeah. What's it
And,
about?
Think about the pirate look.
Hey, matey.
Be your own best judge.
That's it. Yeah. It's basically how to evaluate your own images for competition.
Great. Sounds like a real good program. Dave, are you there to?
Yeah, I'm here. I just wanted to also, express my thanks to Russ for his judging some phenomenal images across all four groups tonight. I'm always stunned to look at other people's work and get motivated. So thank you very much for everybody to participate. We will have this recording up on the website probably in the next couple of days. But thank you once again, Russ. Appreciate your help and also your concise descriptions. I think this worked well.
I always look forward to judging Focus, because the quality that I always see is good stuff. So thank you for the invite.
was good to see you again, man.
Yeah, really. Absolutely. Good to see everybody, and we'll celebrate over a beer one day somewhere. And
Everybody stay healthy.
Absolutely.
Well, I guess that's a wrap. If people want to talk, I'm going to stop the recording, but feel free if people want to have a dialogue. I know it's not the same as in person, but, I'm not going to end the meeting until everybody's gone.
All right.